You're with The Capitalist Sage, a twice-a-month podcast that seeks out entrepreneurs and experts that speak to the real-world life of doing business for their sage advice. Now, with your hosts, Karl Barham and Rico Figliolini.
Welcome to The Capitalist Sage podcast. We're here to bring you advice and tips from seasoned pros and experts to help you improve your business. I'm Karl Barham with the Trans World Business Advisors of Atlanta Peachtree, and my co-host is Rico Figliolini with Mighty Rockets Digital Marketing and publisher of the Peachtree Corner magazine. Rico, how you doing today?
Great, thank you.
Good. Why don't we introduce some of our sponsors?
Sure, let's do that. We have three great sponsors. First one I'll talk about is where we are. This is Atlanta Tech Park. They call themselves a curated tech accelerator in Peachtree Corners. Essentially what they do is they curate all these companies that are all past the startup stage, or almost past the startup stage, into a tech hub here that has workspace, event space, and is designed really to be able to get these companies out to the marketplace. The founder, Robin Bonfay, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, she was the chief enterprise innovation officer at Samsung. She's worked for companies like BlackBerry, AT&T, and Bell Labs. So a lot of experience there putting this place together. So we're in the podcast studio here in the city of Peachtree Corners. So that's one sponsor. Cinebistro is a luxury dinner and movie theater place with reserved seating, chef-prepared cuisine, scratch kitchen, scratch dessert. So like a 4-star restaurant that happens to show movies. And this weekend they're showing, if you haven't seen it yet, the Avengers Endgame. Great movie. Right. Guys have to see it. Pokemon is playing Pokemon Detective Pikachu. John Wick Chapter 3 and The Hustle are some of the movies playing this weekend. And Explore Gwinnett, which is the county's tourism, promotes the county's diversity, the unique foods, the outdoor sites that we have, from Stone Mountain to other Atlanta playgrounds. So those are three great sponsors, and we welcome them and thank them for being sponsors.
Thank you very much for that, Rico. Today's guest is Glenn Kruse with the University of Georgia Small Business Development Center. We call it SBDC. Glenn's a business consultant, and he's also the area director for the SBDC. Hi, Glenn. How you doing today?
Great to be here. Thanks. I appreciate the opportunity.
Sure. Well, for those that don't know what the SBDC, I'm going to let Glenn tell you a little bit about it, but it is a hidden gem here in the business community for those folks that are looking to become entrepreneurs. They help you with getting your business started. But Glenn, why don't you tell us a little bit about the SBDC and how you and your colleagues help business owners?
Well, Karl, you're right. We get it a lot. You're one of the best kept secrets we found, and I always say that's not a good thing. So we're trying to fix that, and this podcast might be something we can that'll help us with that. So we're trying to build awareness out in the community that we exist, and what we do is, and we've got 17 offices around the state of Georgia. Our office is on the UGA campus in Gwinnett, which is right off of I-85 and Old Peachtree Road. So we've got great office space, great space for training, great space for meeting and doing events as well. So we've got great partners there with our colleagues at the university that run the university campus there. What we're in business to do, or what we've been chartered to do, is work with small businesses throughout the state. Our focus at the Gwinnett Center is in Gwinnett County and the surrounding area. There's no boundary requirements. If you happen to just be over one boundary or another, you can basically go to whatever center is most convenient for you. But we help small businesses grow. So regardless of what level you're at, whether you're a startup, whether you're a pre-venture, whether you've been in business for 4 or 5 years, whether you're in business for 10 years and maybe thinking about an exit strategy, we can help you put together a plan for doing that. So what kinds of things do we do? We'll help you build a business plan. It could be one that you need to take to a bank for financing or investors for financing. That would include some financial projections, generally 3 to 5 years, something like that. Or we can put together a business plan that's basically a management document for you to manage your next 12 months against. And that could include financial projections as well. We have great research tools. We've got some of the best marketing toys around. I call them toys because I just have a blast using them. But we've got a tool called Esri, which allows us to go in and pull information from multiple data sources. We don't do it. Esri does it for us. But we have the ability to pull information from census data, traffic data, you kind of name it. It pulls it together and presents it in a cohesive format. So let's say you're a retailer or a restaurateur, and you say, I'd like to know what the people who are in 5, 10, and 15-minute drive from my location, what do they look like? What are their buying tendencies? What are the demographics? And I'm not talking about, oh, they're age 50 and above, or their average education is this. We can pull information down that will let you go in and say, here's a little subsegment of that. They're called classic soccer moms. You can go in there and you can say, here's what they like to do. They go to health clubs. They buy at Trader Joe's. They like to go to Whole Foods. And so somebody can sit there and look at it and go, yeah, that sounds like my clients. And those are the people that I'm trying to address.
How far down can you segment that? Down to like a mile, a zip code, or
the one. This is my little red wagon that I love hauling out every time. Is something called a tapestry segmentation, and there's 69 different segments of that they've segmented down the population into, by age, by education, by economic details, so that you can get a very, very intimate understanding of what their buying tendencies would be and what they like to do. So if you're thinking about co-marketing, for example, you could find somebody like, these guys like to go to Home Depot and they like to go to Lowe's. They're DIYers. They do their own lawn. So if you're a lawn service, or maybe they like to hire it out. So if you're a lawn service, you go, great, that's a target I want to go after. And so you can basically target or get an idea of what the people in your vicinity or your area are like, what they like, and then tailor your marketing plan around that.
I know a lot of companies that charge a lot of money to get that kind of level of marketing detail, that you could imagine a big company going in and doing that if you're opening up a Home Depot or something like that. But if you're a small business owner, you may not have those kind of resources. To access and use some of this, what does it typically cost?
Well, the nice thing is, across all of our 17 offices, we have exactly the same fee structure, regardless of how many hours you're with us or whatever your business segment is. And here's how it works. You take the number of hours that you're going to consult with us and multiply by 0, and that's how much you'll pay at any one of the centers across the state. So, long way of saying we do not charge for our one-on-one consulting. We're funded through grant funding from the Small Business Administration, and then we're also granted by the University System of Georgia. So we're already funded by taxpayers' dollars. All of us are MBAs. We hold MBAs. We're employees of the University of Georgia, so we're technically a faculty member, non-tenured, unfortunately. But we work actually for the university. So we've got a community outreach. We're part of the public service outreach organization inside of University of Georgia. So our charter is to work with small businesses, help them grow by employing more people, generating more revenue. And the concept is, if you want to think about, well, where's my tax day? Where's the payback on my tax dollars? Is those people then generate taxes and pay taxes. The businesses do, the individuals do. And so when we measure ourselves both quantitatively and qualitatively is we'll send out customer satisfaction surveys to our clients to say how each of us as a consultant have done. And so we get that information back. And it's very important for us to get that feedback. I can tell you that every one of the surveys gets copied to our state director. So he's watching all of that to make certain that we're keeping a very high standard that we hold ourselves to. We also measure ourselves quantitatively. So what we do there is we periodically, it's generally every year or 2 years, we'll do an impact survey. We go back to our clients and say, okay, you had 2 employees and you were doing $200,000 in business. What are you doing now? Well, I've got 10 employees and I'm now over $1 million. Wonderful. So we're looking for, have we helped them grow their revenue? Have we helped them employ more people? One other metric that we look at, which helps our banker friends, is we look at how much capital that gets put into play by our clients. So that could be personal investment. It could be venture funds, it could be angel investors, it could be traditional banking, or any kind of funding that might be driving that new business. So, and we measure that quantitatively as well. So, while we don't have, in a typical consulting engagement or a firm, you would have revenue targets or client targets. We have client targets, we have no revenue targets, because once again, you can multiply anything by 0, you end up with that same number. But we do measure ourselves by how many people we see, how many hours we spend with clients, and so we hold ourselves to that standard as well. So when we go to work every day, we have metrics that we're being measured against, and they're not the traditional dollar sign metrics, but the kinds of metrics that a consulting firm would be judged against.
You want to be able to measure. I'm sure the state wants to be able to measure the budget.
So clearly they're looking for a return on investment. And we use that same thought ourselves. Is when I'm working with a client, are they going to do those things? Hire more people, generate more revenue.
So if you take a broad scope of that, let's look at the impact of your clients when they come and work with you. Give us a sense of how it impacts the community. Do they have better success rates? Do you have any data on that?
They do, and I've got a card I can send to you on that. I don't have it with me, unfortunately, but our metrics are basically generally you're going to see about a 4 to 5 times more higher performance than you would against Georgia businesses in general. So the latest results we had were from I think last fall, and it actually the gap actually widened towards SBDC clients. Now, when I meet with clients for the first time, I show that data to them so they know that, hey, you're taking some time out of your business to work on your business. You come to spend some time with us. We're willing to invest back with you. But that difference isn't just because of what we provide them. It's because they want to work on their business.
Right.
So I always tell people there's some sliding scale in that difference between Georgia businesses that don't seek help and those that do, that involves self-help. And so our effort, because we're affiliated with the university, but also our mandate is to see as many clients as we can. Our target is to see 100 clients in a year, but not spending 40, 50, 100 hours with them, but basically giving them some of the basic tools they need to go run their business.
So let me ask you something. I'm a business. I'm ABC business. I come out, do an initial thing with you. You help me along. I get going. Can I come back several times during the year?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's no constraint. I always tell people you can come back and see me as often as you find value in it, and I find value in it.
Okay.
Now, my value in it is I got to make certain that you're doing the things that you need to do as a business. Sure. It's nice to see our clients socially and all of that stuff. We can see them in a social environment if we want, and we want them to come and be working on their business.
Yeah, no, it's kind of neat to be able to have someone that can do this as part of that. They don't have to hire full-time within their business that handles that type of work.
Correct. And again, we won't do web design, but we can do a critique of their web and say, give this information to your web designer and suggest that they go work on these things. It's showing you don't have any kind of SEO strategy, you don't have any analytics on your website. You need to have those on there if you're going to be in e-commerce. So we can give that information back to them so then they can go work on it. Where we've been most successful in a session with our client is when they say, wow, I got a bunch of homework I have to go do. That's exactly what we're looking for, is that idea of let me go work back on my business, I'll check back in with you. Some people come back and say, I haven't needed you, things are going great. And then some people come back in 2 months, 2 weeks, 6 months down the road. We've had people come back 8 or 9 years later, say, hey, helped me get started. I need to do something a little different now. Let's go figure out how I can tweak my business.
Sure. So Glenn, I want to maybe kind of get into a couple of things. You have a perspective of seeing lots of clients over time. And so as our audience are business owners out there figuring out their business and so on, what's the top mistake you would say? What are the top mistakes you see people do when they're trying to at least start a business? Let's start there.
Actually, top 3 mistakes, keep in mind. So we'll start with the first.
Let's start with the first.
Yeah, well, the biggest one is a failure to plan. I mean, a failure to plan is a plan for failure. And it's an old cliche. It's been used by it's been attributed to any number of warriors across the year, all the way back to Ben Franklin and Dwight Eisenhower. But that's it. Most people come in and just haven't really thought through their business. They're working, they get in every day, make the donuts, and they have to step back and said, where am I going with this? What are the steps I need to take inside of my business to make myself more successful? They're struggling to make payroll. They're trying to hire that next employee.
That planning. So when you say planning, that's a general term. Let's get specific with the business owner. When you see folks, what particular type of planning are they struggling with?
One thing we say is do a written business plan. And in that, you need to address what is your value proposition. If you don't have a reason to be better than your competitors, your customers aren't going to recognize it either. So understand what that value proposition is and what the difference is that you're going to make in the market that you're going after. That's on the market side. Do your research on your competitors. Make certain that there aren't 42 of them in the same area, or if there is, maybe find another area, or maybe find a different business, or find a different way about doing that business. So find a way to differentiate yourself. Secondly, is you better have a financial plan other than how much money do I have in my checking account at the end of the month and can I make payroll? And I mean that, I'm saying that a little bit flippantly, but put tools in place. Get something like QuickBooks so you can pull reports out of it, so you know what your receivables are, you know what your payables are, and you know that in a timely manner, so you can manage your business accordingly. And make certain if you can see that there's going to be a cash shortfall, that you plan ahead of time, and then you can basically go out and you can generally remedy that if you do it in advance. If you do it when you're at absolutely dire need, that's a tough spot to be in.
If I could add to that, so I see it often on the back end. If someone's looking to buy or sell a business, we look at the financials, and we're talking with banks that are looking at the financials. That's the worst time to discover that your business is not profitable, or it's not as profitable as you've seen, because now you're sitting in front of the bank and there's not a lot you can do about it. But when you look at this idea around a plan over there, looking at projections, how do people use those projections to kind of serve as a guide of where they are relative to where they've been?
Well, the biggest thing for anybody starting up in the early stages of the business is watching your cash flow. I mean, that's the biggest. I tell people cash is king. The only cardinal sin of a business is running out of money. If you run out of money, it's like the final gun at the end of the game is over. And so make certain you manage your cash and you have a plan around that. Long term on your business is do understand what's your exit strategy. Think beyond, here's what I want to do the next 3 years. How long do you want to do this business? Do you want to pass it on to your children or in-laws, or maybe you got it from your in-laws or whatever it might be? Think about where you want to be with that business, and we'll sit down with them. There are tools, you're very familiar with them, I'm sure, that allow you to look at, here's how purchasers value your business. And I'll tell you, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'd say 80% of the time, if there isn't free cash flow involved in that equation, I'd be shocked. Most of them, I've had it with people, and there's like 4 metrics, and you go, what do all 4 of those have in common? I don't know. It's cash flow. Whether it's EBITDA time, or before owners equity. All of those metrics. It comes back is if you're flowing cash through your business, it's got some value.
That's what a buyer is willing to pay a premium for. Both the quality and the quantity of that cash, and how repeatable it is often what we're looking at. If you were to say a second mistake or challenge that they have, what would that be after planning?
I think one of the things that people they're certainly struggling with this in today's marketplace, but I think it's something that businesses struggle with in general, is finding, training, maintaining good employees. Your business is going to go only as strong as the people who work for and with you. And that involves a number of things. One is hiring well, hiring against a job description that's detailed, that's well thought out, so that you know what you need, and the person that you hire says, okay, I've got those skill sets. And yet you can then hold them accountable to that as you go forward. A lot of people will just say, I got to put a job description out, and they throw something out there. It's like, think about it a little bit. You wouldn't buy a piece of equipment. I'm not equating human capital with traditional capital, but you wouldn't buy a piece of equipment without going through, what does it do? What kind of specs does it have? All of those types of things. Think of it in that way. Spec out your job so that the type of employee you get in, make certain that they've got the skills that you need them to have. And if not, make certain that you've got training programs in place, whether it's mentoring. Don't think about orientation, which is here's the coffee maker and here's how much it costs to buy sodas, and here's when we take our breaks. But think about it as in onboarding, which is invest in your employee, mentor them, stick with them for several months. Don't let them get frustrated. Over 50% of new employees leave the business within the first 2 years of hire. Again, would you go back to the equipment equation, would you buy a piece of equipment that had a 50% failure rate within 2 years?
Do you know what I find with businesses is when they have employees that, not enough employees, and they add to the task without upgrading the job description. And they keep adding to that task of what they have to do, and the expectations are skewed now. At some point it becomes like, why are you doing this?
I'll add one thing to the equation, the human equation around hiring and developing people. When we see businesses struggle, you could see it, the financials tell the story of a business, and they'll have a blip in performance, low cash flow, low revenue. And if you ever ask what happened there, I would say 75% of the time it was someone left. They had turnover issues, leadership. And that usually comes to culture. If you could build a culture in the company and put tension and put it in your plans, what would make people want to stay where they're working? What are the leaders and the managers like in that place? And equipping leaders to develop a culture that people want to stay in. The value of low turnover, it's literally an item that we ask questions about, of low turnover. A low turnover employee business goes at a higher multiple when you're trying to sell it. They have more success, more profitability. The studies show this again and again, but it's amazing how little value business owners and leaders put on that.
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir on that, Karl. I mean, all I can say is amen on that, because I've actually gone in and looked at the costs. There's studies done on the cost of total cost of ownership, if you will, of an employee. And the turnover cost for an employee, it isn't just the little bit of production you lose while they're gone. It's the fact that when you bring them on board, they're not going to reach full, like a salesperson is not going to reach full productivity until 10 months into their tenure. So again, if you go back to that metric where you've got 30%, maybe 30% leaving in 1 year and another 25 or 28% leaving in that second year, so you've got 50 to 60% turnover in the first 2 years, you know that when that person's gone, it's going to take you a year before you can replace that person's productivity level. So when you start to look at what it costs, turnover costs, it's between 33 and 50% of the salary of that employee. It's a hidden cost that the businesses have, they just don't see it and they're not paying attention to it. Raising that awareness, it's been eye-opening to me, and even more so now that I'm back with the SBDC, because we sit with clients and basically say, hire well, hire slowly and diligently, but if you do need to get rid of somebody, do get rid of them, because they can have a deleterious effect on the business as well if they're sitting there griping or grousing or whatever. So if you made a bad hire, make certain that you terminate. But when people leave, do exit interviews, understand why they're leaving. If they're leaving of their own accord, you can learn from that and make certain you don't repeat those mistakes. Absolutely. So many people are just like, oh, well, he just really wasn't pulling his weight around here anyway. They make excuses, but learn from it. Keep learning from why your employees are, happy or not.
So I wanted to tap into the third. Now, if there was a third out there that we've got planning, we've got the impact of people and hiring, making the right decision. What would be a third that you'd say folks got to look out for?
Boy, there's probably any number of things, but one thing I think is not being willing to pivot. If you're in your business and you need to make some changes, whether it be I need to now have an e-commerce presence or I need to do something different because a competitive threat has popped up, you need to be fleet of foot. You need to continually to be introspective and make certain that if you need to pivot for your business, pivot. Because if not, the marketplace can be pretty brutal to you, and the roadside's littered by businesses who just didn't adapt.
It's a lot like sports. If your team is in a rut and they're doing the same thing over and over again, you need to remove a player or adjust your strategy. Even if people look at it and say, well, why are you doing that? It just changes that whole mood.
I love that you use that analogy of sports, because if you think about a sport like football, 4 quarters, what happens at halftime? They make adjustments. They go, they look at the numbers, they figure out, they make adjustments. The teams that do that well, they win Super Bowls.
Well, and as a great philosopher, Mike Tyson, said, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the nose.
Absolutely.
So once you get that, react accordingly.
Right. Well, those are 3 great tips around there, around helping people improve their business, things that they can look at and mistakes that people might make. I'd love to ask you a little bit about, what do you have going on over the next few months at the SBDC?
Well, we continually run a series or a class called Starting a Business. And we actually have a class this evening. It's about a 3-hour class. We run it every month or so. We'll fall back a little bit in the summertime when people are on vacation. That's a class we run repetitively. This fall, we've got something called Grow Smart, which is businesses that have been in business for a while. They probably have 3 to 5 employees at least, and they're probably over $300,000 in revenue. And this is a sort of a mini MBA on your own business. It's a 5-week class. You get to do it with other people who are small businesses, so you get to learn from their mistakes, and you get to share and network with them. The other one class we've got coming up that we've spoken about, Karl, June 7th, is buying a business. In other words, becoming an entrepreneur through purchasing an existing business. And so if anybody's interested in that, we think that would be an interesting class for someone to have. We hold them at our at the UGA campus. Again, our facilities there are really class, first class.
Do you have a website that they can go to?
We do. You can go see us at georgiasbdc.org. Georgia SBDC, that's Small Business Development Center.org. And then you can click on our centers. There's 17 centers around the state. We're either alternately called Gwinnett or the city, Lawrenceville. Lawrenceville, yes.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I will say and endorse SBDC, great friend to my clients. I do send folks there to help with their business planning, thinking through their business plan, a great resource that's available to you. So I want to thank you, Glenn, for being a guest today and sharing some of your advice and wisdom around, and just some of the free resources that are available to help businesses be successful right here in Georgia, right here in Gwinnett. A lot of people go out there and try to figure it all out on their own and learn through mistakes, but if you can get a guide to help get you on the right track and help keep you accountable to that, it could help save you a lot of money, a lot of heartache.
Yeah. I mean, if you have any questions at all about your business or a business you're thinking about starting, come and see us. I'll have to say, I feel a lot like Forrest Gump on that park bench in Savannah. When businesses come in, clients come in to see me, it's like a box of chocolates. I just don't know what I'm going to get, but it's fun. It's a great job, and we love working with small businesses. So come and see us.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Well, that's the end of today's podcast. I'd like to thank Atlanta Tech Park for hosting the Capital SH podcast. It's a great place to be around people that are thinking about businesses, people that are growing, accelerating businesses. Come check us out at 107 Technology Parkway here in Peachtree Corners. And Rico, some of the other sponsors?
Sure. Well, the other sponsors are Explore Gwinnett, thank them. Cinebistro for CMX Cinebistro, which is how they'd like to be known. One of only several, I think 2 or 3 actually in the city of Atlanta. So I want to thank them for being sponsors as well.
Excellent. And Explore Gwinnett. Check out online top 10 list at Explore Gwinnett. Great things to do around town, places to take the kids, top places to go eat. Support local businesses there. A lot of small local businesses out there that you can support and be part of making the business community great. I'm Karl Barham with Transworld Business Advisors of Atlanta Peachtree. Our business advisors are here and available to help you consult. More resources are available to help you understand your business, whether you're looking to improve your business, whether you're looking to grow your business, whether you're looking to exit your business. You can contact any one of our agents for a free consultation, or you can reach us at www.tworld.com/Atlanta Peachtree. Enrico?
I'm with Mighty Rockets, Creative Director, Creative Services, Online Social Media, and publisher of Peachtree Corners Magazine, a new publication for the city of Peachtree Corners. And we've been out we're working on our 3rd issue this week, so we're 6 times a year. Used to be 4 times. By the 2nd issue, we decided 6 times is the better way of going. Even in this print market, which is a dying industry, this city has a place for a print magazine at times.
And also
and online, right? Living in PeachtreeCorners.com, where you can also find a player for the Capital SH podcast and several other podcasts that I do.
Absolutely. If you live in and around the area, great resource to know what's going on in the community with education, with business, in the community, and some politics. A little bit of everything for folks. Check out all of our web pages and online resources.
Cool.
All right.
Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you very much, everyone. See you next episode.
Cool.
This has been the Capitalist Sage with Karl Barham and Rico Figliolini, the twice-a-month podcast with entrepreneurs and business experts. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Want more? Visit our website at capitalistsagepodcast.com.